Welcome to The Explainer. You know that feeling when you're talking to someone and even though you're using the exact same words, it feels like you're speaking completely different languages? Well, imagine if that was your everyday reality in the classroom. Today, we're diving into what happens when international students get, well, lost in academic translation.
So, our source material kicks off with this really powerful analogy. Think about basic physics for a second. Whenever energy changes from one form to another, say from electricity into light, some of it just gets lost in the process, right? It's just how it works. Now, apply that same idea to a classroom. We're not talking about heat, but about how easily vital information can just vanish somewhere between a professor speaking and a student hearing. And that leads us to the billion-dollar question, doesn't it? Just how much of what's being taught is actually landing? And listen, this goes way beyond just passing a test or getting a good grade. We're talking about the very foundation of learning, about making sure education actually works for everyone. So let's take a look at the real scale of this problem.
Okay, so what does this information gap actually feel like day to day? Because it's not just a simple momentary mix-up. For a lot of students, it is a constant, frustrating uphill battle.
Wow, this chart really puts it into stark perspective. Let's say a professor, on a good day, gets about half of their intended message across perfectly clearly. Now, picture an international student who's dealing with all sorts of barriers, and we'll get into those in a minute, and they only manage to really absorb 10% of that. When you do the math, that's a staggering amount of knowledge just gone, vanishing into thin air. And of course, behind numbers like that are real human stories. This quote from a student, man, it just hits home. 4 whole semesters. That's 2 years before they finally got what their professor was trying to say. This isn't about dozing off in one class. This is about years of potentially lost guidance. It really makes you wonder, right? Is the problem what's being said, or is it how it's being said? All right, so if we're going to bridge this gap, we've got to pinpoint where the communication is actually breaking down. What are the specific roadblocks causing all this misunderstanding in the first place? Well, the source breaks it down into 4 main culprits. First, you've got the obvious one, language barriers. But it's not just about vocabulary. We're talking about accents, super-specific jargon, and idioms that just don't translate. Then there are the cultural differences, where something as simple as making eye contact might mean something totally different back home. Throw in teaching styles you've never encountered before, and a professor who maybe doesn't realize they're assuming a bunch of prior knowledge, and yeah, you've got a perfect storm for confusion. And let's be clear, this stuff isn't just a minor classroom annoyance. These issues can have a massive domino effect on a student's entire future, both in school and long, long after. I mean, the fallout from this is just huge. Sure, your grades might slip, but it's the stuff under the surface that's really concerning. Your confidence takes a major hit. You start to feel isolated, so you stop speaking up in class. You miss out on that research opportunity or that club you were so excited to join. And imagine being in a lab. One little miscommunication there could literally mean months of hard work go right down the drain. Just poof, gone. But okay, it's not all doom and gloom. The good news is this is a problem we can actually fix. The source gives us some really concrete, practical solutions to help turn things around and make the classroom a place where everyone can thrive. So here's the game plan, broken down into 4 key steps. 1. Structured communication. Simple things, like giving out written summaries so students can review key points later. 2. Creating a space for active feedback, where people feel genuinely safe to say, hey, hold on, I don't get it. 3. Cultural sensitivity training, and this is for everybody, professors and students. And 4. Let's use the tech we have. Things like translation apps or real-time captioning can be an absolute game changer. And here's something that is absolutely essential to remember. That student we heard from earlier, their story is not unique, not by a long shot. This is a shared struggle, and it's happening on campuses all over the world. The simple reality is that countless international students are quietly going through this exact same experience. And honestly, just bringing it out into the open, just talking about it like we are now, is a huge first step. It's how we start to build a learning environment where everyone actually gets a fair shake. Which really leaves us with this final critical question. This isn't just on the students to solve alone, and it's not just on the professors either. This is a challenge for the entire academic community. It's about all of us working together to build those bridges, to make absolutely sure that when it comes to the quest for knowledge, no one, and I mean no one, gets left behind or lost in translation.